to get online a little. And then do a small poll. And the poll that we will do is just to help me understand, from our last time we spoke, where have things been and what have been the changes or your impressions about our session. So as soon as we have that, I think we will be able to do it. Dixie will let me know. But we can progress until that resolves itself. The reason why solar, so that is why solar energy is very important, because if you look at all those areas that I've observed, those areas are off-grid. I have been, if you go to even parts of Nakuru County, Salga, within Rongai constituency, there are huge parts that are off-grid, and there are many of God's children who are living there, and what they need is a way to supply power that is reliable and that can be able to meet the basics of life. And that is where solar becomes very, very important. So what I'd like to interest us with then is how then do we go about this? How are we able to harness this technology and to get it going for our benefit as a people and as a community of faith. So the first question I'd like us to respond to is, I want us to say a little about where we live, what is the context in the place that you live in, and then the next thing that we'll look at is what is the experience in the place that you live in. These two then will be very key inputs to the rest of our discussions. And the rest of our discussion for the 20 or so minutes that will be remaining will be then, how can we as people, which opportunities are there? Today there are many flavors of things happening. There are people who provide what is called solar home systems. So solar home systems are basically small modular systems that are pre-designed. So you will go to the shop and buy, either it is from B-Box, it is from Delight, from Sun King, from many of these vendors and suppliers. They will have solutions that are pre-designed. And because of this, then there is a standard cost for these systems. And you buy them, then they'll be able to do a suite of services. They'll be able to maybe light, you get some lighting points in the house. They are very basic systems for lighting, and you can be able to charge a phone, and you can also perhaps be able to power television set. And then as those systems grow bigger, then there are other additions, and with these additions, then the systems become more expensive. So you begin with a very small system where the intention is just to have lights. So when you go, you will be able to buy this maybe at X amount. You may be able to put in 10,000, whichever amount, and you get some 3 lighting points, and you get some small solar panel that you'll put on the roof. You get a small device that combines both the battery and the power electronic device that will be doing the conversion, and then this is what you'll be using to light. As this grows bigger, then you reach a situation where most of us, last time we spoke, people were asking a lot about this, where now you have a system that is responding to your needs. So you design a system, you look at the things you want to do in your house. I want to, for example, I want to have light in the house, in the compound, security lights. I want to have a fridge. I want to have the other things that happen in the houses. So all these things that happen in the houses, you say, I want to use XYZ appliances. And based on these XYZ appliances, then an engineer or a technician or whoever it is that is competent will use this to design for you a way to be able to power these devices using solar power technologies. So these technologies then will the first part then will be that these uses are aggregated. Once these uses have been aggregated, then a calculation is done to just determine how many solar panels you need. And once the number of solar panels have been determined, then the design engineer will also tell you what size of an inverter you need. And together with the size of the inverter, then they'll also recommend the size of the battery. And the battery, the role of the battery is to store charge. So these ones will be recommended to you, and then you will buy a set of these equipments which are designed to work as a unit. So the problems I find these days, and these days I think people call me every day, of course from the last time we met here and also generally from the other corners of life. Yesterday, for example, I was on the phone with a particular gentleman who someone comes and says, you know, I have a solution. I think the meme normally says it, I know a guy. I think the meme says, is it I know a guy or someone cheaper? Yeah, I think there's a meme that says that I know someone cheaper, something to that effect. So this person knew someone cheaper, and this someone cheaper went and put there some panels on the roof, gave him some inverter and some battery, told him, well, your bill is close to 400K, and then left. And then he tells me it didn't take long, just 2 days or 3 days after this person had left, the system was kaput, was not working. So then he, of course, called me, told me now, let me know how to progress. The reason, that is part of the reason why we have this, so that you don't, beyond this session, please don't, at least you have some basic understanding when someone does come to you telling you, we want to do A, B, C, and D, you would be having some basic understanding of how these systems work and how they are supposed to work together. So a person who is designing for you a solution cannot design a solution until you have told him your requirements. The number one thing about a modular solution is that it is designed to meet your needs, which means my needs could be different from Sam Elphas's needs. So Sam's needs would be different from mine, and why would they be different? Maybe I have a 3-bedroom house, he has a 1-bedroom house, as should be, because Sam is my student. So that is actually a good example, should be that way. But I could be, so if I go and pick the solution that Sam has, which is designed to power a 1-bedroom house, and then it doesn't work in mine, I cannot start blaming other people. It is simply because I picked a solution that is not designed to meet my needs. So each need is peculiar, is different, is special. And therefore it needs to be met through a design philosophy that is very targeted. Not sure if we are able to achieve what the part, but if not, we can progress. Well, I suppose I think the part I wanted to achieve here may not be achieved. So we will not do the Menti poll. I wanted us to do the Menti poll, which would have helped us to make certain assessments. So these are the things I was talking about, the solar home systems. So these are the ones you'll go and buy in the streets, not in the streets, but buy from a reputable person selling them. And they are those ones, so you can decide all you want is, you just want some basic lighting. If you want some basic lighting, you don't do a lot of other things, you just go and say, well, I want this. So the sizes differ, and based on the sizes, then the costs will be different. So this is the lowest level. A lot of thinking, someone has already thought and given you a pre-packaged solution. The only thing is, you cannot do things outside what has been prepackaged. So for example, if you bought something that can have only 4 lighting points, then that is what you will need to use. You can't claim that now you want 8 lighting points. So this is a basic system. So there is a multi-light system, then there's entry-level solar home systems, basic capacity solar home systems, and then there are higher capacities. And with the different flavors there that I have indicated. So what does a standalone system look like? I have given that pictorial, but just for the sake of this class. So in basic systems, how an off-grid electricity system works is that you have, as an off-grid solar system works, is that you have the panels on the roof. The panels the panel is called a photovoltaic panel or a PV panel. And that PV panel, its work then will be to absorb or to be able to generate the power. And it will be put on the roof or put in a place that you are able to harness that solar radiation. And then from the panel, you'll have, of course, a system of cables that will come to something called an inverter. An inverter is basically something that will convert one form of electricity to another. It will convert what is called direct current to an alternating current, which is basically what we use in a lot of appliances these days. So what we use in this room, a lot of the lighting points, the sockets, that's called alternating current. The panel generates power in what is called direct current, DC. And so the inverter will translate that DC to AC. So the inverter is the heart of the system, and therefore a very important component. After the inverter has translated the AC to the DC to the AC, that AC then is used to power your loads. That means it means your fridge can run, it means your light can function, your lighting, your bulbs can light up, and these things can happen because they are powered through AC. But from the same inverter or directly from the same panel, you can also be charging a battery. So the battery is charged so that when you don't have solar, when you don't have the sun, and when I say you don't have the sun, it means that you don't have adequate radiation. When you don't have this, then you can be able to rely on the battery to supply power to your system. So that is basically how the solar system works. It is in my view, the most simple of systems that someone would be looking at in terms of supplying electricity. So you have the solar panels on the roof, and these solar panels will generate the power, and this will be pushed through wires and through cables to an inverter, and this inverter will translate the direct current to the alternating current. And that same inverter, nowadays we have inverters that are able to do multiple things. So they are called hybrid inverters. Basically what it is that inverter is both able to do the work of converting from DC to AC, but it is also able to receive power from Kenya Power. Later on, when you have Kenya Power, can also be plugged in through it. And it is also versatile in the sense that it can also be able to, you can also charge your battery through that inverter. So it's a multi-purpose power electronic device. So that is what the inverter does. And then the battery. The battery, the role of the battery is to store charge. So you keep charge there. When it is time to, at night, you can discharge from the battery and use to power the things that you want to power. So that is basically, in a nutshell, what the solar off-grid a standalone system looks like. So last time I told us that this is what we should generally do. When you want to have these sort of systems, what you should have is to begin, try and follow this sequence. Please don't take money. You know, money is hard-earned, especially Seventh-day Adventist money is hard-earned. It is very difficult to find. It is hard-earned. It is sanctified money. We don't want to eat sanctified money without doing serious work. So before you give somebody money to say, please just come and do this, please go through with the flow. Ask the person, have you even taken into account the things we want to use this system for? So the workflow is basically a design. A design will come and assess what are the things inside your house that need power supply. And these things will be aggregated And then after the design has been done, from that, then a budget follows. Please, a budget does not come before, or the cost does not come before the design. In the sense, I don't say, just give me something for 100 shillings. If you tell me to give you something for 100 shillings, at least let me tell you what you need, and then you can decide how you will achieve it. So let someone first let you know what you need, and then after this, then you can decide and say, well, I can see what I need will cost me 400,000 shillings, but I only have 150,000 shillings. How then can I bridge the gap? And there are many ways of bridging that gap. Nowadays, there are many companies that provide many other solutions in terms of financing and so on, then that can be able to bridge that gap that you have. But begin by knowing what it is that you need. And then once that is determined, the design is tied with component selection. Yours may have been cheaper, another person's is more expensive. The reason may have been, other than the design, the reason also could be the quality of the equipment that have been deployed. So the more the higher tier equipment will be more expensive than lower tier equipment, and therefore that will inform the price. And then of course installation, which should generally aim and endeavor so that these days I've told you I receive so many phone calls from people who have beat their fingers, they have burnt their fingers. Please aim to ensure that the installation is done by someone who is competent to carry out the installation. This could be a safety hazard. You can end up burning a house you have built with lots of money, and the reason is because you have enlisted quacks, because the quack had told you that he can do it at a lower cost. Then installation, and then after installation, then is a period of operations and maintenance, and so on. Operations and maintenance for these off-grid solar systems should be very simple, very straightforward, because there are not too many things. It should be rather straightforward and very quick. Because I do not have access to my Mentimeter, I will not, my Mentipole, I really wanted to try and interest us in the poll. But I think I can confirm that it's not going to be possible to do so, because I wanted us to do a bit of a Q&A. So let me utilize, I think then what I can do is to utilize the next 10 or so minutes to receive the questions or any reactions or any things that you would wish to have clarified. If there's a particular question or any reaction, any unique thing that you'd want us to respond to in the next few minutes before I leave the stage. I am really happy within the audience. I see people who are practitioners and engage in the area of energy. Of course, I did mention Sam Elfas there. I see my very good friend Keldin, who runs Keldin LLP, tax consultancy, but with great interest in energy and other allied sectors. So Keldin, I see him here. And there's an entire ecosystem of other professionals who are deeply engaged in this line. So I think I just want to open so that if there are any questions, yes, Keldin, you can set us off.
Thank you. Thank you for that very insightful presentation. I have one question. So, is solar energy only optimal for areas that are off-grid? If you have access to the national grid,
yes,
is it optimal to still choose solar? And what would be the pros and the cons?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Keldin. That's a very good question. In fact, because it is good to say, in fact, in this country, the biggest driver for solar energy at the moment is actually, in terms of sales, where there is real money, is actually areas where the grid already is. So we have upwards of close to 500 megawatts of installed capacity. That's a lot that is within areas where the grid already is existing. And that is called, that sort of application is where either you already have Kenya Power active in your area, but part of the questions I wanted to ask you is whether if the places you live in, the grid is available, that means Kenya Power is there, or Kenya Power could be there, but it is unreliable. Where perhaps someone called me somewhere in Karachuonyo last week, where he says no, an electricity pole fell down last, I don't know, it fell down some 2 weeks, and Kenya Power has not managed to mobilize to go and restore the pole, so they have been in darkness, and so on. So you see, even though the grid is there, it is generally unreliable. You can't go home as he did, travel home, and on demand get the power. So then solar becomes not just an application in an off-grid setting, but it becomes complementary to the grid, in the sense that now you can install your solar system and have it working together with Kenya Power, so that you take advantage of the cost efficiencies, where because you put in money in your solar system, you can primarily use it to supply your system, supply your loads, whatever it is you want to do. But when the solar, when you have, when you're low on battery power or something like that, then you can switch back to Kenya Power intuitively and then use Kenya Power until your system again is back. The solar system is able to take up your consumption and power it. And this particular application is, like I told you, is actually one of the biggest in this country, where people install solar to work together with the grid, because the grid is considered very, many people do not, I don't want to say people don't like Kenya Power. Kenya Power is not, Kenya Power has 10 million customers. And these 10 million customers, they all expect the same level of response. But like I told you last time, many of these customers pay 500 shillings a month. So Kenya Power has a very small calculation to do. If you keep complaining and you call them, yet what you give them is 500 shillings a month, there is somebody else who calls them, who gives them 1 billion shillings a month, you know where they'll focus. So they'll just tell you, our teams are coming. Our teams are coming. We have mobilized, which is basically a way to manage you. So the solar can work together with the grid. In fact, this is a very big application. And where is the cost advantage? Usually, most of those systems that are deployed together with the grid, their payback period is like, which means the time it takes you to get back the money you've put in is within 4 years or 3 years. If it is an optimally designed system, within 4 or 3 years, you have your money back, and you have the asset still running and producing power to support you, which makes it a very robust solution. So this happens. And solar is also being used to power very heavy industries. So there are very big companies that now have decided to use solar as a complementary solution to their power needs. So Keldin, this is, yes, I see a hand there. I will also allow Keldin, because I know he works in this space, to make a comment, to do this. And Sam, who is also now my assistant, if you wish to make a comment in the 5 minutes running on the clock.
Hi, my name is Patroba.
Yes, Patroba.
I have an inquiry. What is the checklist for a lay person on an already installed solar system in a homestead to prevent fault or fires? Because I've watched in other countries and I've seen there are a lot of fires currently happening for people who have installed the system for maybe around 10 years. So I was concerned as a user, how can obviously prevent my house from getting a fire. Number 2,
Okay.
is there an alternative device away from lithium batteries for storage of power? I'm looking at longevity because when you're using heavy equipment, maybe the shelf life for the battery may go down. I've heard of capacitors, but I've tried to source for them locally. There is not much knowledge about it, but maybe here in Nairobi there is. So I wanted to have a comparison between the solar lithium batteries against the capacitors and the availability. Lastly, in areas like Kisii, where it's always raining, is it possible to have a reliable solution from solar for those people who are experiencing blackouts on a regular basis? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I hope you got my last question.
Yes, so the one for Kisii where there is reliability, you could just come back on that, but the first two I got very well.
Okay. The issue is, it's always raining there.
Okay.
Yeah, so if one would want to invest maybe to help people there on the solar issue, would be something to consider or...
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So the first one is a checklist on safety. And then the second one is a question about lithium-ion batteries and alternatives. And then the third one is on specific areas in terms of solar, the radiation, and so on. So thank you very much. I think, Patroba, the questions you've asked are very solid, very important. They say safety first. If the thing is not safe, there used to be an advert that says power is nothing without control. If it is not safe, don't engage in it. And part of the reason why I engage with the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, and part of the challenges we have today is many people want to do things, but people like shortcuts. So you have a house, you have put in a lot of money, you built it. When it comes to the question, say, of electricity, the building services, you want to do what you call the wiring, then you look for someone who will just do things quickly and finish. And as a result of this, then you can have a very expensive investment going up in flames. So safety is very critical. What would you do? Number one, safety. The system that is designed or installed, the first place that you begin in safety, I always like to say, safety is designed or built into the solution. So, for example, other than an off-the-shelf sort of installation, when you ask me to come and design a system, then I design that system with the very unique circumstances of where it will be installed. What is the profile of that place? Is it a place prone to lightning strikes? And what is the frequency and what is the impact of those sort of risks? So there's a risk. There are many things I'm thinking in my mind so that by the time I give you a solution, then, or not just me, but an engineer or a competent person in this field is giving you a solution, then they have weighted all these risks. So you will always be seeing, for example, someone is designing for risks like lightning. And then, so there's a lightning protection system, then there's the earthing system. If these two are very important, if there is no lightning protection system, it means that the system is basically exposed. And there is no earthing system for this installation, then it also means that you are treading in very dangerous ground, quite literally. So, what are the things you need to look out for? You need to look out for the integrity of the cabling. The person maybe who's come to do this promised you that they are coming with a cable size that is cable 4 mm or 6 millimeters. So cables are grouped according to the size. So cable sizes, the bigger the cable size, like for example, if you're talking about the current, the capacity, it's like a pipe. If you want to carry more, then the pipe becomes bigger. So the bigger the cable size and the bigger the current carrying capacity. So as you graduate upwards in the cable sizes, unfortunately, the cost of the cable also increases. So many people who do the installation, what they do is to try and have a cable that will be cheaper, which is a smaller cable size. And what this will, the impact of this is that then the system when the current comes that is beyond that cable, then it will burn. And when it does burn, then it is a potential area for fire. So cable, what is the size of the cable that was picked? What is the integrity of the cable? Are there open parts of this cable? Are they all secured? That means something called insulation. That means that how protected are the live parts from the from people, essentially. So how protected are the live parts? So cables, very important parts to check. If you just look at your system, you see where wires are hanging dangerously, or they are menacingly hanging. They don't look like, or you turn something on and you keep seeing sparks or arcs. What that means is there's a loose connection, and a loose connection then is causing, you turn on an electrical device and you hear sparks. Then you know that there is some arcing or there is some loose connection there. It's a potential for fire, it's a hazard. And then there are things that are built into the system, fuses and breakers. So fuses and breakers or circuit breakers are basically supposed to be protective. So they are supposed to cut out power supply, including, of course, now Dixie is also now my fuse or my circuit breaker. And she tells me that I need to cut my power supply. So that's what they do. If you find that the fuse is dead or that the fuse was not designed well, then you know you can have a fuse that you say, you know what, someone tells you, I have a fuse for 200 amp and another one is 100 amp. And then because you always think the bigger is better, you say, give me the one for 200. So what it means, the one for 200 is that it will require the threshold will have to be met before it can be triggered or before it can operate, which then means that the loss will have already occurred. So then it's very important then to look at the integrity of the fuses and the breakers within the system. If there's a breaker that is burnt or a breaker that is not operating properly, then you need to have it replaced, or you need to ensure that it is removed from the installation. So check the integrity of the cabling, check the protective devices that have been put in, ensure that the electrical installation, because this is an electrical installation, ensure that it is protected from lightning, and so you'll have the air termination spikes at the top, then you will have an electrode that comes down to the ground, and then you will have earthing or a place where all these things are connected to the ground, because what you want to do is to convey all that surge into the ground. So that is why we then talk about lightning protection. So these are the things you do. For the basic ones, you look at the inverter. If there's a fault on the inverter, there's something it is asking for, you give it to it. Batteries, when they begin smelling or they have some funny odors or those kinds of things, and you know that you are nearing, you are moving from HDU, you are going to the ICU. It is a bad sign. Quickly, lithium ion, good batteries. In fact, right now, this is the batteries in the market. So there are many battery chemistries. There used to be lead acid batteries. These have been phased out in favor of lithium ion. Lithium ion batteries are now a 5 kilowatt hour battery. A good reputable manufacturer, like let's say manufacturer called X, let me not mention them because you may now go demanding that you have them, is let's say 150, 130,000 Kenyan shillings. So the costs of batteries have been falling significantly over the last 5 years. And the cost advantage is with the lithium ion batteries. There are other energy storage technologies. They are now not called batteries, like the supercapacitors are called energy storage technologies. So those ones, they are not exactly a battery, because a battery has an anode and an electrolyte. So these ones, however, the principle of operation is a bit different. So they are supercapacitors, they are all manner of things, but their application is in different areas. For the basic lighting and applications at home, what you need are battery energy storage systems, which are either lead acid, and in lead acid there are many other technologies, or lithium ion. And lithium ion, like I've told you, is where the cost advantage is. It is becoming cheaper and better because it is supported by other things like electric mobility. Watu wa Nduthi are using lithium ion batteries. Because of that, the production costs for lithium ion batteries are coming down even for stationary applications. So it is very good. But when I say lithium, someone got a Nobel Peace Prize for these lithium ion batteries. So it has taken a lot of studies and research over the years. There were some two gentlemen, one was called Stanley Whittingham, another one was called John B. Goodenough. They did a lot of work on battery chemistries, particularly on lithium ion. And I believe right now for you, Bwana Patroba and many others, the thing is, if you want a good solution that will be cost effective, then you need to move with a particular trend. I see my circuit breaker is looking at me. So for Kisii, rain does not necessarily mean there is no good solar radiation. Rain does not necessarily mean there is no good solar radiation. Solar radiation is not heat. Solar radiation is not heat. There are other energy technologies like the solar water heater, which relies on heat. So it is a water heater. Basically, you have heat that is trapped, is absorbed through a substance that is very good in absorbing and very bad in emitting or releasing the heat. And then this heat will heat the fluid and the fluid will circulate, and then the fluid is released and it will come and you will take a warm shower and you will feel happy. This is a different technology. It's called solar water heating. These are thermal technologies. But solar photovoltaics or solar PV technologies rely on radiation. Radiation is a little different from heat. What this means is you could be in Kisii, in a place that is prone to rain and so on, but the radiation is not as bad. For example, in Kisii, if you look at radiation profiles, it's usually like for what we call peaks and hours, which means the number of, when we consolidate the number of hours in a day when you'll have peak sunshine in those regions, we talk about 4 to 5 hours, which is very good, which is basically near the national average. So there is still very good prospects of doing solar there. What the design engineer will do is to appropriately design the panels so that you are able to harness as much as you can in a very short time. So my time is up. I have gone way beyond and I want to be invited again next time. So thank you very much. But I did promise Kelvin, I'd like you to make a comment. I see a hand there. I think these hands are for the organizers. They will, so that because I can see the screen saying time is up. You can't see it, but me, I can see it. So Kelvin, just try to make a quick comment because I promised you would. Generally, from your experience also with dealing in this field, particularly because I know Kelvin has done a lot of work with some of the persons I've mentioned here. And Dixie have closed the laptop to demonstrate that I'm not doing anything more. Yeah, so my closing thoughts is please, I will be able to answer questions at the door or somewhere there so that blessed are those who try to summarize so that they are invited again. And I'm available. I run also a consultancy called Lepton Systems, info@leptonsystems.africa. Feel free also to reach out and drop any questions beyond this session. Yes, Kelly.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I can't say more, and meantime may not allow us, but I wanted just to address those who probably will be using solar for commercial purposes, especially as far as irrigation is concerned. I know there's quite a bit around there. But I want just to mention that there's quite a bit of support in that space. And if you are interested in solar, then there are various associations and various information sources that you need to tap into before you make that investment. One, because the investment is very capital intensive, and also it requires you to just know what is suitable. Yeah. Finally, let me just mention from a tax perspective that the government, I'm breaking this down very fast, will give you, if you're using it for commercial purposes, in tax credits about 30 to 45% in tax credits if you're using it and you document your expenses very well with supporting documentation. And so if you're using it for commercial purposes, there's quite a bit you can gain by just pursuing solar. So I think it's something that we ought to know. I know most Adventists, for commercial purposes, use this for irrigation, but it will be good that you take advantage of what the government has given in incentives as far as solar is concerned.
Thank you very much. I knew that there would be something useful from Kelvin. Thank you very much for observing that, and I'd like to thank you. Please, Sam, just try so that they can see you, my very nice assistant. Sam, rise so that then you can, any particular issues or questions you wish to lodge, please, you can see him, and we will be able to respond. Thank you very much. I'd like us to pray, and then we can wind up this session. Let's pray. Thank you very much, Father in heaven, for the privilege we've had to speak with your children. I do not take it for granted, because when your children who are preparing for your soon return gather, the subjects upon which we dwell on must be those that ennoble, those that amplify the nature of your work in the heavenly sanctuary, and those that prepare us for your soon return. So we pray, dear God, that this may, in some sense, help us to prepare and to be informed, so that in that information we may find the power to act in harmony with your will. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, man of God. And through that we learn that let there be light in our homes. Yes. So we have come to the close of that session, and I would like to thank you all for actually coming in and participating and having a listening ear. And I know much more, even the online congregation have really benefited from that. So I'd like to pray. Our next session is we are going for our outreach, the street ministry, which will be conducted at Gataka Market. So I'd like us to pray, and even beyond that, give more guidelines on how we proceed from thence.
Prophesy again.